Welcome back to The Mouse and Men, where we explore the grown-up side of Disney. Find us online at themouseandmen.com, where you can find links to all of our social media, or just find us at The Mouse and Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Find us on YouTube, where we broadcast the podcast. And buckle in for a great episode, because I'm Bradley. I'm here with my co-caster, Chris. Chris, we're talking about a perfect day at the Magic Kingdom.
Yes, we were talking about ideas of what we could talk about here on the show. I had such a blast when we did almost a month-long series on what would we do, what rides are absolutely critical in each one of the main parks of Walt Disney World. And we thought about the idea of what would a perfect day look like if you just went to Hollywood Studios, or you just went to Epcot, or like what would it be? Where would you want to stay in a hotel? The food and drink items that you want, a souvenir that you would get. So like the perfect day in each one of those parks. And so I think that today, launching into that series would be just a fun time, because talking about my favorite rides from a few episodes ago, it really just made me want to be there. And here we are, February 2021. It's been a good 18 months since you and I have been to any of the Walt Disney World properties down in the Orlando area because of COVID. And it just excites me to talk about being there. And so I hope that for you as well, Bradley, and the people that are listening, that just spending a couple of minutes talking about a perfect encapsulation of a day at Magic Kingdom would just be a fun way to unplug from all of the other responsibilities that we have in the world, unplug from the reality of we're still in a COVID universe. So what do we do if we could go down to Disney and have the perfect day at each one of the parks? What would that look like? The last series we started at the newest park, which was Animal Kingdom, and then we went Hollywood Studios, Epcot, Magic Kingdom. We're going to reverse that and go oldest park to newest park through this series. So today, you and I are sitting down and talking about our perfect day at the Magic Kingdom. And I think that what we should do to start off this is, again, everybody listening, just imagine in your head, if you had one day to spend at the park, money really wasn't an option, although it can be achievable. So let's just not pick the most expensive thing across the board just because we could. But so a perfect achievable day at the Magic Kingdom, what would that look like? Starting at, where do you want to wake up? For me, I thought that I've never stayed at the Contemporary Resort. Always wanted to. I've driven through it plenty of times on the monorail, but thought how cool for those people who are at the Contemporary Resort going to the Magic Kingdom. They're just one hop away, one monorail ride away from being at the front gates of the Magic Kingdom. So for that, if I was going to pick a perfect place to stay, there could have been several around the lagoon there, the different resorts that I could have stayed at, but the Contemporary has always kind of called to me of like this fun place to stay if you're going to wake up and go to Magic Kingdom the next day. What about you? Where would you like to stay at your perfect day at the Magic Kingdom?
You know, I have gotten to stay at the Contemporary.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say I was in middle school, maybe. It's one of the conference hotels. So they've got a convention center. I think they've got a convention center, but they've got a lot of rooms for those sessions and things. And so my dad had a continuing education training thing. It was at one of the options was Disney World. And he said, sure, I'm going to take the family. So somehow my mom navigated until probably mid-afternoon the parks with 3 kids, 2 middle schoolers and an elementary schooler or something like that. But I got to say, being at that, the Grand Floridian, any of those monorail hotels, resorts, is just a fantastic way to wake up, hop on the monorail, ride over to the Magic Kingdom. I would stay at either the campgrounds or the lodge over at Fort Wilderness. It's considered a Magic Kingdom hotel resort because it's closest to the Magic Kingdom, or not closest to, but it's in that's the park it's closest to. So just, I mean, really any of those where you're a short jaunt over to the Magic Kingdom. But I love the campgrounds, whether it's camping, hammock camping, um, take a pop-up camper or RV, or go all out and stay at the lodge. Just a fantastic place. And you may see a bit of a theme with that kind of frontiersy, adventure-y
Okay.
theme throughout my rest of the day at the Magic Kingdom Park.
I like that. You know, I didn't even really take into consideration that portion, or staying at the lodge or at the campgrounds. But you're right. One time I went to the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review, and I think that we left Magic Kingdom and then I think we took a monorail to Contemporary and then took a boat from the Contemporary over to the Fort Wilderness area. And so those are just a little boat ride away from being right, basically next door neighbors there, other than the boat ride.
Yeah.
So I didn't even take into consideration that, but I love that.
Well, it's become one of my favorite resorts. I mean, we went there when we went in August 2019. My wife and I have been there once or twice. So it is, I mean, I just love being outdoors, and for being in the midst of all this Disney magic, it still feels clean and like a Disney property, but you're out in the woods a little bit, and it feels like you're disconnecting a little bit. I love it.
That's great. Okay. All right. So I wake up at the Contemporary. You wake up in Fort Wilderness. You make it over to the park. For you, perfect day at Magic Kingdom. What time are you arriving at the park?
Before rope drop.
Okay.
Now, I will say my breakfast, I decided to have breakfast in the park.
Okay, me too.
The Contemporary does have, is it Chef Mickey's, that is a character dining. I think we did it once when we stayed there at the Contemporary. But I mean, I'm sad to say that I never got to see the rope drop performance before they moved it inside. So it used to be you kind of stand outside the gate and the characters come in on the train and they're all up there. But now they've moved it inside. It's a little bit, from what I understand, it's a little bit better experience for the guests, but I mean, you have to already get in to kind of experience it. Anyways, before rope drop, I want to be in there because breakfast, I've got to hike all the way to the back of the park.
Ooh.
Because I want a cinnamon roll, and they may be like called big as your face cinnamon roll. I can't remember, from Gaston's Tavern in the very back in Fantasyland. It is delicious. It is, I can eat it and then just get going. So a cinnamon roll from Gaston's Tavern is how I start my meal.
Okay, so this is great. I have actually done rope drop when it was out in front, and I have eaten a cinnamon roll at Gaston's Tavern based on your recommendation. The last time that my family and I went to Magic Kingdom, that was our breakfast one morning, is a big as your face cinnamon roll at Gaston's Tavern, and it is delicious.
Yeah.
And so I completely concur that that's the best way to do it. I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to go a little bit heavier on my breakfast, knowing that it's going to be a big, long day. I need my energy. And this is in pre-pandemic mode. I don't even know how they're handling this at Disney, but I'm going to leave Contemporary where there's Chef Mickey's and a character breakfast there. I'm going to go to Disney, watch the rope drop just like you. Then I'm going to peel off and go to the Crystal Palace where they have a buffet style character breakfast there. And again, not knowing, do we still have buffets at Disney World now? I'm not sure. Is it just you order off the menu and you can't go back as many times as you were able to? What those answers are. But I've done this now twice, and the character breakfast experience was something that before I tried it out, I would have just kept walking every time. It's like that. That's for somebody else that wants to get their picture taken with Tigger or something. That's not me. The first time that I tried it, I fell in love with it. I couldn't believe that I'd been going to Disney all these times and never done a character breakfast. They're more expensive than other meals. And so I just written that off as it's not worth my dollars, but it absolutely is, especially if you have young kids that are going to enjoy it as well. So breakfast for me, I'm probably, depending on when I can get a reservation, I may go ride Space Mountain once or twice. As soon as the rope drops, I'm there, try to ride a couple of rides that are going to have long fast pass lines later on in the day. Go ahead and get those out. But then I'm going to make it to the Crystal Palace in order to relax, eat a bunch, get my picture taken with a bunch of characters, and then move on from there. So I love Gaston's Tavern for that big cinnamon roll. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and have my biggest meal of the day in the morning at Crystal Palace there.
Well, I want to say, and don't quote me on this, that they're not doing buffets right now, because one of my favorite places to go for a buffet is Cape May's Cafe.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not in the Magic Kingdom. It's over. I think it's between Yacht and Beach Club or
yeah,
somewhere over on that side of property. But
yeah,
my wife and I were talking about this weekend. Why don't they have something? Because we all have our phones. I went out to eat once over the pandemic, and they had me scan a QR code for the menu. So I'm just looking it up on my phone. Well, for the buffets, you could still have a buffet, I think, and just have something where it pulls up some sort of interactive menu, and you say, I want a stack of pancakes, and maybe you can only get up to 3 at a time or something. I want pancakes. I want bacon. I want, eggs, sunny side up. You just choose it. And then when you're ready to order more, you just pull it back up and order another round. And that's how you could do a buffet. Somebody just brings it to you. But I don't think they're doing that. But that's, that's my Imagineering hat for today. So Chris, after breakfast,
mm-hmm.
You mentioned Space Mountain. What is that must-do ride? What is it that you have to do? I already know what it is for Epcot. We've talked about that. What is it for the Magic Kingdom?
Okay, for must ride for me in the Magic Kingdom, it's essentially every ride that they have there that you can get a fast pass for is almost a must ride for me, which sometimes stinks because it's if you're trying to get everything done in one full day. And you're only going to go there one day. What happens if one of those rides is down? Like, what if Splash Mountain, for whatever reason, is closed for refurbishments? So it's essentially anything with a fast pass. But I love any coaster that's there, especially the new-ish one, the Mine Train, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I love Space Mountain if I'm there. It's hard to pick just one. But I'm going to have to say something that's exciting. But I know that once I'm finished with that big, huge meal at the Crystal Palace, I may not need that. So that's why I ride it first, Space Mountain, get it out of the way, or the Mine Train, get it out of the way. Because I know that by the time I get finished at the Crystal Palace, I've taken my time there. My family is enjoying themselves. And so we've lost valuable time in the park because we're doing a sit-down character breakfast. So for me, I get up from the Crystal Palace and I go over into Adventureland, which I'm dangerously close to already, being at Crystal Palace. And then I ride some of those that are going to let my food settle for a bit. So I may not get on Aladdin's carpet ride, but I may get on, do Pirates, may go walk up and down Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. So that way my food can settle. So then I can really get ready to ride some more exciting ones after I've finished eating for about an hour or so. So for me, I'm going to head to Adventureland afterward.
I think we need a new challenge, like a whirl and hurl challenge where you have to eat. I don't know. We'll have to come up with something big, and then you got to go ride, whether it's Space Mountain, Seven Dwarves, over an Animal Kingdom, Expedition Everest, something like
Love
that.
Those. Yeah.
Whirl and hurl challenge will be coming.
Yeah. Do you get to ride it while you're holding a turkey leg in one hand and a phone in the other hand to get a selfie? Can you even pull that off?
Yeah.
Like, how close can you go from eating to writing?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't want to necessarily have a turkey leg out while I'm going down Splash Mountain for fear that I might never be able to go back to the parks. But
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, maybe it's devour a turkey leg, which is huge. It will feed a family of 17, but you have to finish it yourself and then go ride Space Mountain. Maybe that's what we do. But
yeah, I like it. Okay, what about you? Perfect day. I have to get on these rides when I'm at the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, so I think it's all based for me with nostalgia.
Love that.
But Splash Mountain, Pirates, or Peter Pan, I'm not sure which. Right now it may be Pirates because although I'm okay if they hadn't done the Jack Sparrow overlay, I just love what they did taking an attraction and creating a film franchise from it.
Yeah.
Especially that first movie. That first movie was the best. Maybe we'll have to break that down at one day as to why that one stands out from the rest. But I think it would have to be Pirates of the Caribbean, the must-do ride for me.
You know, if I went and Space Mountain was for whatever reason closed, I feel like Space Mountain is my got-to ride in Magic Kingdom. But the excitement level may be lower, but I think the very close second for me would also be Pirates. There's just something so nostalgically perfect about that ride that I could ride it as many times as I can, as they would allow me to do during the day. And it just doesn't get old to me. It's just such a integral part of being at the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. For those of you listening to audio only, I have pulled out my Pirates Life candle from Magic Candle Company and taking a whiff just so I can relive what it's like to be in that ride right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's the perfect ride. And it's a dark ride. It's inside. It allows you to not only feel that nostalgia, to check off another one of those beautiful rides, but you're going to have air conditioning the whole time, which is always on a very high priority list. Once I'm there in Orlando, I don't often think about it when I'm planning my travels, but when I'm there and I feel that humidity, I'm often searching for a way to beat the heat.
Yeah. So Chris, what's next on our perfect day?
Okay, so perfect day is, that when you go to any of these parks, you're going to have some combination of day planning to meet the amount of rides that you want to ride while you're there at that park, but also the food. So we're talking about park rides. We'll continue to talk about those as we go on, but we got to now look at lunch. What would lunch look like for you in a perfect day at the Magic Kingdom?
Something from Casey's Corner.
Oh, yes, me too.
Whether it's a hot dog, and I know they do, I believe it's a 12 Dogs of Christmas or something like that. But they're always and I think what they do is at Christmas, they do like every day their hot dog of the month from the previous year. So each month, I believe, gets their own special hot dog. So whether it's that special, whether it's the corn dog bites, whatever it is, give me some hot dog mystery meat and something fried. I'm loving it. Give me that 2:00 hangover. I don't care.
Dude, that is so perfect.
Casey's Corner. And while you're eating it, go out and enjoy there's a piano right out there, upright piano, and a couple of guys who just rotate playing music, whether it's, I think they do popular songs, but they do different renditions of a bunch of Disney classics as well, just keeping you entertained, maybe even soothing you off to sleep after eating that heavily fried corn dog.
Okay, so I completely agree. And I think that one of the lesser talked about, but should be high on the list for anybody to do at the Magic Kingdom is, even if you're not eating at Casey's Corner, which I highly recommend, and that's also my lunch on the perfect day, is a nice big 1/4 pound hot dog from Casey's Corner. But to sit out on the patio and listen to that ragtime music for the musician that's there at the piano, it's just such a perfect tie-in. You there at the very end of Main Street, and so you kind of have that nostalgic feel of this, getting a hot dog and listening to some music 60, 70 years ago in a small town like where Disney is from. Could have been very much like that Casey's Corner experience. So I love it. For whatever reason, again, I'd walked past it tons of times and never tried it. Went one time with some family members and they're like, "Oh, we love Casey's Corner. Let's try it." And so on a whim, I'm like, "Okay, I'll eat where everybody else is eating." Sat out there, listened to the piano player play all the different renditions of the Disney songs or popular songs with a ragtime twist, and then had just a perfect hot dog and Coke to kind of just take a breather. And I agree. I think that's my perfect lunch there, even though it's low key. It's not very expensive when comparing it to other things, but a hot dog and fries and a Coke from Casey's Corner in the middle of the hot summer afternoon is just perfect for me.
Oh yeah. So are you eating lunch at Casey's Corner too? Did I steal yours?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So
yep.
Two thumbs up from us for Casey's Corner.
Okay, so for me, perfect day at Magic Kingdom means that I'm there when it opens, and hopefully I'll be there when it ends as well. Because for any rides that I'm able to do more than once, I want to try to play the Fast Pass game and get as many of those throughout the day. So I started at breakfast at Casey's or at the Crystal Palace, which is next door to Casey's Corner, and so started at Crystal Palace, and then I work my way through the different areas. If you go down Main Street and take a left, I'm doing all of those in the morning. So I'm going to Adventureland and Pirates. I'm going over to the area where I can ride. I'm forgetting things, trying to keep it all into order.
There's Adventureland. There's Fantasyland's a little further back.
Yep.
Frontierland with Splash
there we
Mountain,
go.
Big Thunder Mountain.
Yep. So Adventureland, Frontierland. I'm trying to get as many of those rides in as I can, and then hopefully I've picked up as many of those rides as I can to make my way back to Casey's Corner for lunch. But I'm going to have to backtrack just a little bit because now I've eaten lunch, let that settle. But now I'm thinking the afternoon, I've got to get a snack. And usually for me, a snack in the afternoon is going to be something that's going to cool me down. And I can't think of anything other than going over to Aloha Isle and get a Dole Whip for the afternoon to just keep me cool as I'm walking around.
I love it. I had that on my list as well. I mean, they had to move Dole Whips over to Aloha Isle because the lines were getting too long. But I will say this. If pineapple's not your thing, try citrus swirl.
Ooh.
And if you want a Dole Whip or a citrus swirl, or there are a couple different iterations that you could get of either of those. Not only does Aloha Isle have it in the Magic Kingdom, but if you go over to the Polynesian at the Pineapple Lanai.
Yeah. That's hard to say. Pineapple Lanai.
Lanai, I think it's Lanai. But anyways, my wife and I just kind of stumbled upon this.
Love it.
There was literally nobody there. So walk up, no line, get our Dole Whip, and keep going.
That's good to see. Again, I'm learning more and more from you every time we have these podcast episodes because I didn't know that. I mean, it makes sense that you could get something like that from the Polynesian, but I'm so used to getting it only in the Magic Kingdom to where I've never even tried to find a Dole Whip elsewhere.
Well, there may be a place I didn't research it completely, but there may be a place in Disney Springs as well. But I think the legend of the Dole Whip is expanding.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. Okay. So now we've had breakfast, we've had lunch. We now even have a snack in us trying to ride as many of those rides. Oftentimes for me, I have the best of intentions of getting a Dole Whip and then I'm walking to my next place while I'm eating it. But, now having a family in tow and it's not just my priorities that need to be taken into consideration, but all four of us have to talk about what we're going to get done. Oftentimes we realize that man, we're spent by the time a snack comes along in the afternoon. So we often just try to find someplace shady to eat that and relax a little bit, because we've been going and going all day long. Because as much fun as a Disney vacation is, it's exhausting. And we talked about it just a week or two ago about how many steps we pull in when just doing a day around the park. You can easily walk 10 plus miles just walking around the parks. So for me, for Magic Kingdom specifically, I'm trying to get as many of those large attractions out of the way as possible. I've been watching a lot of videos on several people trying to do it's called a couple of different things on how many different big e-ticket rides there are. But if you can do all the rides in all of the parks in one day, and I've yet to find one person on YouTube that videos themselves trying to do it that actually accomplishes getting all of them done. They get really close up in the 40s, up in the mid 40s, but not actually there. But for me at Magic Kingdom, I'm just trying to do as many rides as I can. That for me is a perfect day to say that I didn't miss any of those. Any like guilty pleasure things that you want to experience that maybe not everybody that you go to the parks with enjoys, but you need to make sure that you get it in?
Yes. And I'm going to cheat because I'm going to do two. But
Okay.
It's kind of one.
Okay. Bring it.
Space Mountain with the lights on.
Yes.
And the People Mover going through Space Mountain with the lights on.
Sweet. I love that.
So that's I just want to see what Space Mountain looks like in person with the lights on, but I want to experience it both ways. I want to see the whole thing, and I want to just be flying around the track with the lights on. But
okay, that's perfect. I love that. So for me, a guilty pleasure that my whole family makes fun of me for, but I just have to do it, even if I'm getting made fun of, is I love the Hall of Presidents. I know that it's just one of those things where you sit there and they just talk to you and then you move on. It's not a lot of high excitement, but I really appreciate it. Oftentimes, especially when we get new presidents or whatever it is, there are new little elements that they add to it. So for me, I just appreciate of course, we know they're not the actual president sitting up there. We're not being fooled, but it's just a piece of nostalgia, kind of what you were saying several minutes ago, that it's hard for me not to go to Magic Kingdom and not do the Hall of Presidents, even though it could be a very easy, we'll do it next time. It's always going to be here kind of thing.
Well, you and I have been in the Magic Kingdom together, and I think we did that. It may have been down, but we also did Carousel of Progress.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, if you're there with a group that enjoys it, and as the seats start to rotate around the stage and you just all break out into song, it is just a great experience. Getting to be there with other people who love the ride. Look, it's cheesy. It needs to be updated. But there's a great big beautiful tomorrow, and let's just all break out into song. I love it.
Yeah, and see that's another part of this discussion is that a perfect day in each of these are so different for the individual. So if you're with a big group that knows all of the lyrics to all of the songs, sitting in Pirates and singing Yo-Ho, The Pirate's Life for Me, or in a Carousel of Progress and singing a great big beautiful tomorrow at the top of your lungs with the rest of your group, that sounds amazing. I have not experienced that type of situation where I have that many people that I'm there that have memorized it or that want to sing along. But I would love to participate in a big group experience like that. Just never had the opportunity before.
Well, it's funny you brought up Yo-Ho, because whenever my son is just over a year old, 16 months, I can't keep up with all these months. But anytime I hand him his little sippy cup of milk, I say, "Drink up, me hearties, Yo-Ho." I'm trying to train him right.
There you go. Slowly but surely, you got to get him into that pirate life.
So, Chris, I think we got another meal. We got to talk about dinner, don't we?
Yeah, and so this conversation seems to be food heavy, but because we've talked about in previous episodes our perfect rides in each one of the parks, I think that we can know that we can go back and listen to some of those things. Again, for me, it's different at every park, but Magic Kingdom, it's basically quantity for me. Like the quality of the ride, I don't even care as much. I just want to ride as many rides in the Magic Kingdom as I can get my hands on. And so because I'm working so hard throughout the day, that's why I've got to do both breakfast, lunch, then a snack, and then dinner. So we've talked about breakfast and lunch, talked about a snack. Dinner for me is going to be a little different. Again, this is not the perfect day with any amount of money that you want to spend. It's an achievable day. So I didn't want to just say whatever's most expensive, souvenir and meals. I'm going to go a little bit different. So for me, my perfect dinner is one that I've done for dinner a time or two. I've done for lunch several times. It's going back over into Frontierland / Adventureland, that little area where it's a little hard to decipher which part you're in, but to the Pecos Bill Tall Tale Inn and Cafe. I love their fajita platter that they have there. They have more of a Tex-Mex Mexican vibe that you can get there. Several different versions of nachos, fajitas, and it's always really good food. And back in the past, there was a lot of stuff that you could add to it, a salsa bar and all sorts of stuff, so you could really make it your own. But I love that little area. It seems like that me and my family, we can all get something that we all want. There's a lot of food, so you leave full and happy. But there's also something nostalgic as well about being in that little tavern / bar back in the old West saloon kind of vibe that you get at the I'm forgetting it now, the Pecos Bill Tall Tale Inn and Cafe.
Yeah,
I'm tongue tied all over the place.
well, I love it. You had me at platter. And I mean, kind of the same area is where I'm going to get dinner, but I love to be on the go. So my perfect day is always on the go. So I've got a corn dog on a stick. I've got a cinnamon roll that, I mean, I could eat while I'm walking.
Yeah.
But then dinner comes with its own built-in stick. It's a turkey leg. And
oh yeah.
I mean, just gather around a trash can and get a plate and just pull the meat right off that turkey leg and share it amongst your whole family. But that, and then I've talked about it before. I'm this popcorn stuff. It's growing on me. And so a turkey leg and refill my popcorn bowl, and I'm ready to keep going. So my perfect dinner is on the run.
See, okay, so I'm digging what you're saying so much here, because
You're picking up what I'm laying down. I understand.
I really am. I appreciate that, because oftentimes, especially if we're on a dining plan at Disney, we're trying to pull out all the stops. We're trying to make sure that we partake in as many fun experiences, memorable experiences, but we don't want those credits to go to waste. And so we're trying to really fit in these meals that sometimes we get to the end of the day, and maybe a fajita platter is just too much, because I'm still dealing with Crystal Palace from several hours ago. I just had as many pancakes or waffles and bacon and sausage that I wanted. And so maybe that would be too much.
It's the whirl and hurl. Come on.
and so that's great. For me, sometimes I'm like, I'm in the Magic Kingdom. I'm here for a meal. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to experience this meal, because I don't want to leave that credit on the board that then by the end of my trip, I'm just buying several souvenirs inside my hotel souvenir shop to say that I've getting all my credits done. But I love that idea, especially if you're still on the go, or there's things that you want to do that you know that now you're dealing with the park closing. I love the idea of something more portable, like a chicken or a turkey leg and some popcorn. Okay, so how about this? We've had our perfect day. We've ridden all the rides. We've eaten all this food, but there's something that you need to grab before you leave to make sure that this trip was worth it. So any particular souvenir that you're going to want to pick up that may be Magic Kingdom only, or you just need to make sure that you get it there because of this nostalgia piece that we've been talking about?
You know, as a kid, I think I had one of these. My brother had one of these. Now I've got a son, so kind of got to do the same thing. One of the little toy guns from Pirates of the Caribbean. Look, there's a little bit of a theme, and I mean, I know that Fort Wilderness doesn't really fit into pirates, but it's that sense of adventure.
Yeah.
So it may be one of those. It could also just be my popcorn bucket. It really could be.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the
I like
souvenir
it.
that keeps on giving. All I have to
That's
do is
definitely
give
true.
up $1 and poof, my popcorn bucket is refilled.
Yeah, it's replenished. You know what? I made the mistake one time of trying to tell my son, I know that you want this gun at Pirates of the Caribbean. We can probably find it elsewhere on property. So let's hold off now from getting. It was like day one of our vacation. He already wanted to get his big souvenir, and I didn't want him to have a possibility where he gets a souvenir and then a day or so later or later that afternoon he finds it. He finds that he wants something else more. So I told him, let's not get it from here, not realizing at that point that some of these souvenirs are very specific to, you can only get this at Pirates. You can't, they don't have the same gun at Pirates, and that you can also get it at Downtown Disney later. I believe me, I've learned that mistake the wrong way. And so I like that. I think that now that I've learned my lesson there, that we have one Downtown Disney gun, and then we have, I think, two, one for my son and one for my daughter, both. One was a rifle, one was more of a pistol from Pirates. It's because I didn't want to make that mistake again. So I love that. For me, I'm going back to when I first visited Disney and went to the Magic Kingdom. The first time that I got one of those big, huge lollipops that I've never successfully seen anyone actually finish, because it usually gets attacked by grass, or an ant gets to it, or it just gets too slimy and you're trying to put it back in the package. I've never seen it completed, but I've always loved the challenge. And so for me, as I'm leaving Magic Kingdom, even though I'm full from all that other food, I'm going to get another food item as my souvenir and get one of those big, huge, multicolored lollipops.
I love it. I mean, what a great way to grab that on your way out of the park too, as it's closing. Everybody's making a mass exodus. You know what? Just put it on my tab. Give me one of those giant lollipops. And yeah, I also have to say, it's like I'm too tired to eat it, but not opening it on the bus ride or monorail ride back to the resort.
Yeah.
Is really tough. That is a big temptation.
That is so tough. Yeah, exactly. Because whatever's there, if you don't have a backpack to kind of get it out of sight, out of mind or whatever, it's just sitting there, and it's just, just deliciousness and sugar. So why wouldn't you want to jump on it?
Yeah. All those colors just saying, eat me, eat me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I love this idea of a perfect day. What are those things that you can't miss that may be in addition to the rides and everything? But I want to make sure that you listening at home, or you, Bradley, we've been talking about this and it's been very food and purchase heavy, but is there anything that's just a fun thing for you to do, a low-key experience, a guilty pleasure that we haven't been able to bring up yet, that you would make your day at Magic Kingdom perfect, but we haven't discussed yet?
Well, I love the Pirates Adventure over in Adventureland.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it before, but just getting to what I love is it causes you to look at the park a little differently. You're not looking at it for all these attractions, but what's in the details. And so I love a Pirates Adventure. I hope it sticks around for a while. I know that Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom is closing, I believe just closed at the end of January. And so I hope a Pirates Adventure is not closely following that. I hope it sticks around for a while, because that's something that I would love to do with my son when he gets just a little bit older.
Yeah, I agree. And again, one of those suggestions that you gave my family that we then were able to experience and enjoyed, that we would have just walked right past, that kind of scavenger hunt experience that you can have there next to Pirates. So that's a wonderful thing. For me, I like the idea that because I'm staying at the Contemporary on my perfect day at Magic Kingdom, I'm only a few minutes away from being back in my hotel room to grab a quick midday nap if I need to, or a quick relaxation before we head down to the pool once things have closed down. So staying near each individual theme park allows a jump in and out kind of thing to be that much more possible. So I really appreciate the idea of staying closer, so then I can go and enjoy the hotel for what it is if I need a breather from a full jam-packed day of the Magic Kingdom.
I love it. I love it.
Cool,
Yeah.
man.
I'm one of those guys, just go, go, go. My wife probably likes your perfect day a little bit better. Sitting down, enjoying food, maybe a mid-afternoon nap back at the resort. I'm like, hey, go on, take your nap. Kids, we're going to keep going. Yeah, I love it. And everybody's perfect day is different. So take a little bit of both, follow one of our tracks if you want to, but make sure, talk to somebody to help figure out your perfect day at the Magic Kingdom.
Love that.
So Chris.
Yes, sir.
Plussing.
You ready to plus it up, baby? Yes, indeed. Let's do it. Plussing.
So for plussing this week, look, this will be spoiler free.
Yes.
WandaVision.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome. So you've caught up. I got to say that if you've watched the first 2 episodes, I'm like, it's just, I don't understand it. Stuff keeps changing. Stick with it.
Yeah.
Episode 3, it's like, okay, something's starting to move. What's going on? Episode 4, okay. I'm starting to take the bait. Episode 5, which was just released last Friday, I mean, it's got me hook, line, and sinker. Watch it. What I love is it's filling in gaps in between the Marvel movies. Because I mean, there's a lot of movies. I think there's 23 of them. And then you've got some of these series like WandaVision that fill in gaps in between. But I just love what Disney and Marvel are doing with all these little storylines in between the larger arc of the Marvel movies.
And see, one of the things that I have really learned to appreciate through Marvel and then also Star Wars properties that Disney owns is that it's hard for me sometimes to understand the difference in why you would need a TV show for one thing and a movie or a series of movies for another. But I've really learned to appreciate it, especially with Star Wars and with Star Wars and how they have all these movies, but then they have this Mandalorian thing and more to come to tell like a more granular stories to just build up the world that you're living in that much more. But you can take on more of a personal thing versus trying to accomplish so much with 90 minutes or an hour and 20-minute movie kind of thing. So WandaVision for me was one of those, when I first watched the first episode, I was like, very entertaining. I love watching TV at a high form. Like when I'm watching it, the first episode, which is kind of spoiler free, it's a 50s style sitcom, like something like Dick Van Dyke Show, or maybe early 60s, something like that. So Dick Van Dyke, Mary Tyler Moore, those kinds of shows that I kept looking for some little nod to where like, that's very close to what a sitcom looked like for that time. But that just certain thing looks off. The way that they do a special effect, well, that's not how it would have been done in the 50s. So it looks a little updated kind of thing. But the way that WandaVision handles every episode and all the little nuanced details is so perfect. I haven't found a flaw yet in seeing that, like, they're trying to pull off a 50s sitcom, but that really looks more like something they would have done in the 80s or whatever it may be. I haven't been pulled out of the story yet. And so I love this way of storytelling. It's so unique. It seems so it's like so Marvel, and yet this so completely opposite of anything that I've seen from Marvel that I'm constantly surprised at how much I'm enjoying it, both the storytelling and just being in the world of Wanda that was in the Marvel comic universe, all those several of the movies, especially the Avengers movies, but I didn't necessarily attach to that character. But now that I'm seeing a whole TV show with her, I couldn't be more excited when I go back and watch some of the other Marvel movies. I'm like, oh, there's Wanda. I will see her. I will be prepped now for when I see her more in WandaVision. So I'm just impressed again with what Disney's bringing to the table.
Yeah, I love it. Look, I didn't read any of these comics growing up. I bought one comic. That's probably the only one I ever read, and it was not a Marvel comic. So I didn't know much about these characters before the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I'm really enjoying it. I've watched all the movies at least twice, once in release order, once in chronological order. And now I'm starting to, I want something else. So WandaVision, starting some of these other little mini series as well. So check that out. If you're just needing something different, check out WandaVision on Disney Plus. And then go check out themouseandmen.com, where you can get the top 10 things for grown-ups to do in Walt Disney World. You can get links to all our social media, or just go to @themouseandmen on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Reach out to us. Let us know what your perfect day includes. And then find us on YouTube as well, where we broadcast the podcast. Look, we didn't talk about my background today, but it's right off Main Street, a great little place to sit in the shade, enjoy that corn dog. It's not far from Casey's Corner. Listen to some people get tap dancing and music lessons. It's quite comical, and a lot of people miss it. So find that off Main Street. But hey, look, we've explored the Magic Kingdom. A lot of things that hey, we remember from being kids, but a lot of things to discover anew as well. And I just got to remind our listening audience, don't grow up too fast.
But like we're doing with these perfect days and through all of Disney Plus and whatever we find ourselves in, we've got to keep exploring.
And then I totally lost where I was going. And then